is Chike? I don't know. Amara is devastated. Amara, look at me. It's gonna be okay.
The sun hung golden over the town of Ibadan, painting the sky in colors of joy. Laughter spilled from every street corner as people danced, their colorful fabrics swirling in rhythm with the talking drums. The scent of jollof rice, grilled meat, and palm wine filled the air. It was a day of celebration, a day many had waited for. Amara, the radiant bride, stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the golden beads woven into her hair. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from a happiness she had never known. Today, she would finally become Mrs. Amara Tunda. Her reflection smiled back at her, bright, hopeful, innocent. Her mother, Mama Zola, entered the room quietly, her eyes glistening with pride and nostalgia. "Ah, my daughter," Mama Zola said softly, holding up a small wooden box. "Before you go, I have something for you." Inside the box lay a simple yet beautiful necklace made of cowrie shells and tiny stones. It looked old, ancient, as if it carried a story of its own. "This belonged to your grandmother," Mama Zola continued, "and to her mother before her. It has protected the women in our family for generations. Today, it will protect you." Amara's smile widened as she touched the necklace gently. "Mama, it's beautiful," she whispered. "Beautiful things," Mama Zola said, fastening it around her daughter's neck, "must also be strong." Outside, the drums grew louder. The crowd was waiting. The air buzzed with excitement as Amara stepped out in her elegant white lace gown, her veil shimmering like sunlight on water. The people cheered, children ran alongside the car, and elders clapped their hands in blessing. Tunde stood at the altar, dressed sharply in a cream agbada with golden embroidery. His smile was confident, his presence commanding. To many, he was the perfect man, successful, handsome, generous. And today, he was marrying the woman he claimed to love most in the world. As Amara walked down the aisle, their eyes met, her gaze soft, his steady. The world seemed to fade around them. The pastor's voice rose above the music, and with every vow spoken, every "I do" exchanged, the people rejoiced louder. By evening, the celebration had turned into a grand feast. Music filled the air. People danced under the glowing lanterns. Tunde and Amara laughed, fed each other pieces of cake, and shared whispered promises of forever. But as the night deepened and the laughter echoed across the courtyard, something, or someone, watched from the shadows. A woman dressed in dark colors stood by the old baobab tree near the edge of the crowd. Her eyes burned with a strange mixture of envy and pain. The soft glow of the lanterns caught her face. Beautiful, but hardened. Her expression unreadable. Her hands clenched tightly around a small black pouch. She said nothing, but her gaze never left the bride. As the couple danced, Amara's laughter rang pure and bright. Yet, for a fleeting second, she felt something. A chill, like eyes pressing against her back. She turned, scanning the crowd, but saw nothing unusual. Just faces smiling, people cheering, life unfolding in perfect harmony. Still, deep within her, a strange unease stirred. A whisper she couldn't quite hear. Later, as the couple prepared to leave for their new home, Mama Zola embraced her daughter tightly. "Remember, Amara," she murmured, her tone serious now, "marriage brings joy, but also tests. Keep your faith strong, and never remove this necklace." Amara nodded, her eyes soft with love and trust. "I won't, Mama." The car drove off into the night, the sound of singing fading in the distance. Behind them, the town celebrated long into the dawn. And under the baobab tree, the woman in dark clothes turned slowly, her voice barely a whisper carried by the wind. Let them dance, she said bitterly. Let them celebrate, while they still can. Music fades to silence. The camera pans to the moon, calm, watching, as the screen darkens. The wedding celebrations had ended. The cheers, the music, and the laughter were replaced by the gentle hum of night insects and the rustling of trees. The stars sparkled above as Amara and Tunde arrived at their new home, a grand, beautifully lit house that seemed to glow under the moonlight. Amara stepped out of the car, her heart still dancing with joy. The house was everything she had dreamed of, large, elegant, and full of promise. She looked at Tunde, her smile bright. "This is where our forever begins," she said softly. Tunde smiled and nodded, brushing a stray curl from her face. "Forever," he repeated, his tone warm but distant, almost too calm. Inside, the living room overflowed with wedding gifts, bright packages wrapped in ribbons and bows of every color. Laughter echoed faintly in Amara's mind as she looked around. Each gift represented love, blessings, and new beginnings from family and friends. Tunde opened a bottle of champagne, the sound of the cork echoing in the spacious room. They toasted to love, to success, to the future. Everything felt perfect, almost too perfect. After a while, Amara began unwrapping some of the gifts, excited and curious. Beautiful glassware, fine fabrics, golden jewelry. Laughter spilled from her lips again and again, until her eyes stopped on one box. It sat quietly on the table apart from the others, wrapped in golden cloth, with no card, no name. Something about it felt strange. The wrapping shimmered under the light, almost alive, like it was breathing. Tunde noticed her staring. "We can open that later," he said quickly, pouring another drink. "It's probably from one of my business friends." Amara tilted her head. "But there's no name." "Then it's not important," he replied, his voice firmer this time. "Leave it for now." She nodded politely, but something inside her whispered otherwise. The box drew her in, like an invisible hand was pulling her closer. Later that night, as Tunde went upstairs to take a call, Amara sat alone on the couch. The golden box glowed softly under the lamp. Her curiosity grew stronger with every heartbeat. She reached out. Her fingers brushed the cloth. For a moment, everything fell silent. Even the wind outside. She untied the ribbon. The lid lifted with a soft creak. And then, a sharp hiss split the air. Amara screamed as a snake. Long, dark, and glistening, slithered out of the box, its eyes glowing yellow in the dim light. It coiled on the table, tongue flicking, tail rattling softly. Her heart pounded violently. She stumbled backward, knocking over a vase. "Tunde!" she cried out. "Tunde!" He rushed down the stairs, eyes wide with alarm. "What happened?" Amara pointed, shaking. It came from the gift box. "A snake!" Tunde froze, his eyes landing on the creature. For a moment, something flashed across his face. Fear. But not just fear of the snake. Something deeper, something buried. He grabbed a stick from the corner, swung hard, and struck the snake until it lay still. Its body stopped moving, but Amara couldn't stop trembling. Tears filled her eyes as she backed away, her breathing uneven. When it was finally over, she fell into Tunde's arms, sobbing. "Why would someone send us this? Who would do this on our wedding night?" Tunde held her tightly. "Probably a jealous person," he said quietly, almost too quickly. "Someone who doesn't wish us well." Amara pulled away slightly, her eyes still wide. "But why this?" He didn't answer. He turned toward the box. Inside, under the golden cloth, lay a small piece of paper. Amara hesitated before picking it up. Her voice trembled as she read the words aloud. "A gift for betraying love." Silence filled the room. Amara looked at Tunde, searching his face for answers. "What does this mean?" He shook his head, forcing a nervous laugh. "It's nonsense, Amara. Just someone trying to scare us. Don't think about it." But his smile didn't reach his eyes. And for the first time since the day began, Amara saw something in her husband's face she had never noticed before. A flicker of guilt. She clutched the necklace around her neck without thinking, her mother's words echoing in her mind. "It will protect you." Tunde bent down to pick up the dead snake, but Amara stopped him. "Leave it," she said softly. "Please, just leave it." He hesitated, then nodded. They went upstairs in silence. The laughter and music from the wedding felt like a distant memory now. The night grew heavy, and though the house was quiet, Amara could still hear something, a faint hissing sound, somewhere in the dark. She tried to tell herself it was just her imagination. But deep down, she knew. Something had entered their home that night, something that wasn't meant to be there. The lights dim. The camera pans slowly to the golden box on the table. The paper still inside, fluttering slightly as if touched by an unseen hand. Days turned into nights, and nights into long, restless hours. The golden box still sat in the corner of their living room, untouched, yet impossible to forget. Amara could not stop thinking about that moment. The snake, the note, and the strange look in Tunde's eyes. Each night, she woke drenched in sweat, her breath uneven. Dreams haunted her. She saw snakes slithering through her wedding veil, fire swallowing her home, and a woman's voice whispering her name over and over. When she tried to recall the woman's face, it vanished like smoke. Tunde tried to comfort her at first. "Amara, you're just overthinking," he would say, holding her gently. "It was a bad prank. Let it go." But as the days went on, his patience began to fade. He grew quieter, distracted, and often came home late. One night, when she asked where he had been, he snapped, "Not everything is about your fears, Amara. I have work too." The sharpness in his voice made her heart sink. This was not the same gentleman she had married. Cut to Amara sitting outside with her mother a week. Later, sunlight pouring through the mango trees. "Mama." Zola could see the sadness in her daughter's eyes. "My child," she said softly, "a woman can sense when something in her home is wrong. Tell me, what troubles you?" Amara hesitated. "Mama, I've been having dreams about snakes and a woman. And that gift? I can't forget it. I feel like something followed us home from the wedding." Mama Zola looked uneasy. Her hand went to her chest, where a small charm hung from her own necklace. She reached for Amara's neck and touched the ancestral beads she had given her. "That necklace," she said, "will protect you from what you cannot see, from the lies of men and the curses of women." Amara frowned. "What do you mean, Mama?" Mama Zola didn't answer immediately. She just sighed, her gaze distant. "Some things," she said slowly, "are born from jealousy and pain, but sometimes we bring those things upon ourselves without knowing." Amara nodded, confused, but too tired to ask more. Later that day, the town market, full of color and sound. Amara tried to distract herself by visiting the market, hoping normal life would help her forget her fears. The vendors called out cheerfully, children laughed, and the smell of roasted corn filled the air. For a moment, she felt at peace again. But as she moved through the crowd, her eyes caught a familiar face, a woman standing still among the moving people, watching her. It was her, the same mysterious woman from the wedding, dressed again in dark colors, her face half hidden beneath a shawl. Amara froze, her heart skipping. The woman's lips curved into a bitter smile. "You look happy," the stranger said softly, her voice smooth but sharp like glass. "Tell me, do you sleep well, Mrs. Tunde?" Amara blinked, taken aback. "Do I know you?" The woman stepped closer, her eyes burning. "You married what belonged to another." Before Amara could reply, the woman turned and disappeared into the crowd, as if the air itself swallowed her. Amara called out, tried to follow, but she was gone. Her hands trembled as she stood in the middle of the busy market, surrounded by laughter that suddenly sounded far away. Cut to evening. The house feels heavier now. Tunde sits at the table, scrolling through his phone. Amara entered quietly, still shaken. "Tunde," she began. "Something happened today." He didn't look up. "What is it?" "There was a woman. I saw her at the wedding, too. She said something strange, that I married what belonged to another." Tunde's phone froze mid-scroll. His face went pale, but he quickly masked it with a forced laugh. Nonsense. People will say anything when they see someone happy. "But she knew my name," Amara pressed. She looked at me like she knew. I said, "Drop it," he snapped, slamming his phone onto the table. The sound echoed through the room. Silence followed, heavy and suffocating. Amara stared at him, stunned. She had never seen him angry before. "Tunde, what are you not telling me?" He stood up, his jaw tight. "Fine," he said after a long pause. "You want the truth? That woman, her name is Ngozi. She used to be my fiancée." Amara's heart sank. "Your fiancée?" "Yes," he said coldly. "It was over long ago. She wasn't well. After she lost our baby, she changed. I tried to help her, but she became dangerous. I left before she destroyed me." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "And you never told me?" "It didn't matter," he said, turning away. "That part of my life is dead." But as he walked out of the room, Amara noticed something, a slight tremor in his hand, a flicker of fear in his eyes. She sat down slowly, feeling her world shift beneath her. The woman's words echoed in her mind. "You married what belonged to another." And for the first time, Amara felt the cold truth settling inside her. Her marriage was not as pure as it seemed. The lights dim. The wind howls softly outside the house. The camera pans to the golden box, now covered in dust, as if waiting for the next secret to unfold. The storm came without warning, fierce, relentless, and wild. Rain pounded the roof, lightning cracked across the sky. Inside, Amara sat by the window, clutching a shawl around her shoulders. Her mind was spinning. The name Ngozi echoed like a ghost in her thoughts. Tunde hadn't come home yet. It was almost midnight. Every time lightning flashed, she thought she saw movement outside, a figure, drenched and waiting. But when she blinked, there was nothing. Her phone buzzed suddenly, a message from an unknown number. She opened it with trembling hands. "He promised me forever. You took my forever." Her heart stopped. Attached was a photo, her wedding picture, but with something different. A dark shadow behind her veil, the faint shape of a woman. Amara gasped and dropped the phone. Her necklace, the one her mother gave her, began to feel strangely warm against her skin. It pulsed, almost like a heartbeat. She ran to her altar table and lit a candle, whispering a quick prayer. "God, protect my home. Protect me from whatever this is." But before the flame could steady, the door creaked open. Tunde entered, soaked to the bone, eyes bloodshot, face pale. He looked as if he had seen something terrible. "Tunde!" She rushed to him, relieved but frightened. "Where were you?" He brushed past her wordlessly, heading straight to the bedroom. His hand shook as he poured himself a drink. "Talk to me," she begged. "What's happening? Who is sending these messages? Why won't she stop?" He stared into the glass, voice hollow. "Because she can't," Amara frowned. "What do you mean, she can't?" Tunde looked up, eyes glistening with something close to fear. "Because Ngozi is dead." The room went silent. Only the storm answered. Amara stepped back slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "What? What are you saying?" "She died 3 weeks before our wedding," he said quietly. "She took her own life. I didn't tell you because I thought it was over. I thought she was gone." Amara's breath caught. The candle flickered violently, almost going out. "Tunde, You should have told me? He slammed his glass onto the table, shattering it. And say what? That my ex-fiancée died cursing my name? That she said if she couldn't have me, no one would? That's madness! Amara's tears spilled over. And now she's haunting me. Us. You brought this into our home. Tunda pressed his hands to his face, trembling. I didn't know it would follow me. I didn't know she meant it literally. Lightning flared again, and this time Amara saw it. For just a split second, a woman's reflection appeared in the mirror behind Tunda. Ngozi, her face pale and wet, her eyes burning red. Amara screamed, stumbling backward. Tunda, behind you! He spun around, but the mirror was empty. Cut to later, that night. The rain still falls. Amara sits with her mother on a video call, her voice shaking. Mama, she's here, she whispered. Ngozi, Tunda's ex. She's dead, but I've seen her. I've heard her voice. Mama Zola's face tightened. I warned you, child. There is darkness that clings to pain. A spirit wrong does not rest. What do I do? Amara pleaded. You must break the tie. There is something binding her soul to Tunda, something left behind when she died. Find it and destroy it. Amara nodded weakly. But what could it be? The necklace, Mama Zola said suddenly. Does it still warm when you feel her near? Amara touched it. It was glowing faintly, pulsing like before. Then she is close, Mama Zola whispered. The ancestors are trying to protect you, but you must act before she claims what she believes is hers. Later that night, the power goes out. Only candlelight fills the room. Amara searches the house, every shadow feeling alive. She opens drawers, boxes, cabinets, looking for something that feels wrong, cursed, connected. Then, inside Tunda's wardrobe, behind a stack of old clothes, she finds it, a black pouch, tied with red thread. Her heart pounds as she unties it. Inside are ashes, a piece of burnt fabric, and a silver ring, engraved with the name Ngozi. As soon as the ring touches her palm, the candles flicker violently. A low whisper fills the air. You took my place, Amara screams and drops the pouch. The door slams shut on its own. The air grows cold, the shadows deepen, and a shape forms slowly in the corner of the room. Ngozi, her eyes hollow, her dress torn, her skin pale as moonlight. Why? She hissed, her voice layered, part whisper, part scream. He was mine. He promised me. Amara backed away, tears streaming. I didn't know, please. I didn't take him from you. Ngozi's face twisted in pain. He lied to us both, she said, stepping closer. But one of us must pay. Lightning flashed, and the ring in Amara's hand burst into flames. Amara screamed as the spirit shrieked, vanishing into smoke. The necklace around her neck glowed fiercely, protecting her, the charm of generations holding firm against the curse. When the storm finally ended, Amara collapsed to the floor, trembling but alive. The air grew still again, but something inside her had changed. She now knew that this marriage, this home, this man, carried more than love. It carried guilt and ghosts. Cut to dawn. The storm is gone. Tunda kneels in the living room, staring at the ashes of the pouch. It's over, he said softly, almost to himself. Amara looked at him, her voice cold, distant. No, Tunda, it's not over, because she didn't curse you alone. She cursed us. The music fades out slowly, a mix of sorrow and dread. For the first time since their wedding, silence ruled Amara and Tunda's home. No laughter, no warmth, just quiet. The kind that hides behind every sound. Amara sat by the window, clutching her mother's necklace, her eyes hollow from sleepless nights. The storm had ended, but the fear hadn't. She could still feel Ngozi's presence, faint, watching, waiting. Tunde had barely spoken since that night. He moved like a shadow, Eating little, sleeping less, drinking too much. The guilt was devouring him. "I didn't mean for this," he muttered once, staring at his reflection in the window. "I loved her once, but I thought she was gone. I thought if I buried the past, it would stay buried." Amara looked at him, her voice soft but sharp. "You can't bury a soul that wasn't laid to rest." He turned to her, his eyes tired and red. "Then what do I do, Amara? Tell me. How do I make peace with the dead?" Amara hesitated, then remembered her mother's words. "You must break the tie." "There's one thing left," she said finally. "We have to return to where it began, to her grave." Cut 2. A deserted old graveyard at dusk. Thick mist creeping through the air, the sound of crickets fading into the wind. Amara and Tunda stood hand in hand before a weathered gravestone. The name Ngozi Ekayoma was barely visible through the moss and dirt. Tunde's hands trembled as he knelt, whispering her name for the first time in months. "Ngozi," he said softly, voice breaking, "I'm sorry. For leaving you. For not coming back. For everything." A cold wind swept through the trees. The leaves rustled. Like a sigh, Amara watched him, her heart aching despite everything. She could see that his remorse was real, but she also knew the spirit wouldn't rest with words alone. She took out the small pouch of ashes they had gathered from their house, the remains of the cursed ring and thread. "This is what ties her here," she said. "We must return it to her resting place." They placed the pouch at the foot of the grave. Amara knelt beside it, whispering a prayer her mother had taught her. "Spirit wronged and heartbroken, find the peace you were denied. The living repent, the dead forgive, and love returns to the earth." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. The candle Amara had lit flickered violently, its flame twisting into strange shapes. A faint figure began to form. Ngozi, rising slowly from the mist, her eyes shimmering with both pain and longing. Tunde froze, unable to move. "Ngozi!" he whispered. Her voice came, soft but echoing. "You left me to die alone. You made me believe love was a lie." Tunde fell to his knees, tears spilling. "I was weak. I was scared. But you didn't deserve what happened. You didn't deserve the pain I caused." Amara watched, tears in her own eyes. The spirit looked at her then, eyes full of sorrow rather than hate. "You wear what he promised to me," Ngozi said bitterly, pointing to Amara's ring. "But you are not my enemy." "He was." Amara's voice trembled but held strength. "He may have broken you. But don't let that destroy what's left of you. If you hold on to hate, you'll never be free." Ngozi's expression wavered, the fury in her eyes softening. "Free," she repeated, as if testing the word for the first time. Lightning flared across the sky, illuminating her face. For a fleeting second, she looked alive again, the woman she once was before heartbreak consumed her. Tunda reached out, his hand trembling. "Forgive me, Ngozi." The spirit turned to him, her lips trembling. "Then promise me one thing," she whispered. "Promise you'll never let another woman suffer the way I did." Tunda nodded, his tears falling freely now. "I promise." Ngozi's gaze drifted toward Amara, calm now, almost peaceful. "You are stronger than I was," she said softly. "Protect your heart, and when you dream of me, let it be as I was before the pain." Amara bowed her head. "Go in peace, sister." A faint smile touched Ngozi's lips, and with one final sigh, her image began to dissolve into a trail of glowing dust that swirled upward into the night sky. The candle's flame steadied once more. The mist cleared. The air grew still. It was over. Cut to dawn. The first rays of sunlight touch the earth. Birds sing faintly. The couple walk home in silence. For the first time in weeks, the air felt lighter, But inside, both knew things would never be the same. When they reached home, Amara removed her wedding ring and set it gently on the table. Tunde looked at her, confused. "I need time," she said quietly. "Time to heal, to forgive, to understand what love really means, without curses, without secrets." He nodded slowly, knowing he deserved her distance. "I'll wait," he said, "even if it takes forever." Amara looked at him, not with anger, but with quiet strength. Forever isn't promised, Tunde, but peace is, if we fight for it. Weeks later, the same house, now brighter, filled with plants and laughter from visiting neighbors. Amara sits outside, writing in her journal. The golden necklace still rests around her neck, gleaming in the sun. In the distance, the baobab tree sways gently, the same one that once shadowed the wedding. Her voice narrates softly. "They say love can build or break you, but sometimes it must burn before it becomes pure. I learned that peace is not given, it's earned, and forgiveness is the only gift that doesn't come wrapped in pain." She looks up at the sky, a soft breeze brushing her face. For a fleeting moment, she thinks she hears a familiar voice whisper her name. Calm, almost grateful. Amara smiles faintly. "Ngozi," she murmurs. "Rest now." Camera pans upward. The morning light fills the frame. Music swells, a blend of drums, strings, and soft choir. Fade to black. For days after their visit to Ngozi's grave, Amara and Tunde lived in uneasy silence. They tried to return to normal, but peace wouldn't stay. Every night, the air in the house grew colder, heavier, filled with whispers neither could understand. One evening, as rain lashed against the windows, Tunde sat by the fire, staring into the flames. His face was pale, his eyes distant, as if he was seeing ghosts only he could see. Amara sat across from him, the necklace around her neck faintly glowing in the light. The tension between them hung like a thick fog. Finally, Tunde spoke, his voice shaking. "Amara, there's something I didn't tell you." She looked up, her hands tightening around her cup. "What more could there be?" He hesitated, then whispered, "I didn't just leave Ngozi because I was afraid of her anger. I left because I was ashamed." "Of what?" He swallowed hard. "Of myself. When she told me she was pregnant, I thought it would ruin me. I was still building my business. I was worried about my image. So I told her to end it." Amara's eyes widened in horror. "You told her to end her pregnancy?" Tunde nodded weakly. She refused. She wanted to keep the child. "That night, we fought. She fell. I tried to save her, but—" He covered his face, trembling. "She lost the baby. And I left her there. I didn't even go back to see if she was all right." Silence fell, heavy, merciless. Amara's heart pounded. "So that's what this curse is," she said softly. "It wasn't born from jealousy. It was born from pain." The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. The candle flames flickered violently. Tunde looked up, eyes wide with fear. "Do you hear that?" Amara did. The hissing, faint but growing louder. From the corners of the room, snakes began to slither out. Dozens of them, black, glistening, moving in rhythm like a living wave of darkness. Amara screamed, grabbing the chair for balance. Tunde stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp. The snakes circled them, their hissing merging with the storm outside. And from within that chaos, a soft, sorrowful voice rose. "He shall never know peace, and she shall wear his sins." It was Ngozi's voice. Tunde dropped to his knees. "Ngozi, please, I confess. I confess it all. I was cruel, I was weak." Tears streamed down his face. "I took everything from you. Take me, not her." The room shook violently. The fire flared high, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Amara could barely breathe. The necklace around her neck burned hot against her skin. Then, through the swirl of smoke and hissing, Ngozi's spirit appeared, her face calm yet sorrowful. She turned first to Amara. "You loved with a pure heart. You carried his sins unknowingly. You do not deserve this." Amara's voice trembled. "Then let it end. Please, free him. Free us." Ngozi's gaze shifted to Tunde, cold now, filled with justice. "You took life and called it love. You buried truth and called it protection." Tunde sobbed, clutching his chest as he began to choke. Dark veins spread across his arms, like poison crawling beneath his skin. He gasped for air, collapsing to the floor. "Forgive me." Amara fell beside him, holding his face. "Tunde, stay with me." The necklace glowed brighter, blindingly bright. Amara held it up, her voice trembling but firm. "Ancestors of light, Mother of mercy, let truth cleanse what lies have poisoned. Let the curse be broken through compassion, and may love, even broken, find peace." Ngozi's spirit paused, her expression softening. Tears glistened in her ghostly eyes. She whispered, "You are not my enemy, Amara." He was. Amara wept. "Then forgive him, even if he cannot forgive himself." For a long, tense moment, silence. Then Ngozi nodded slowly. "I forgive." The woman. "But the man must wander until he learns remorse." She raised her hand gently. The snakes turned into trails of golden dust, vanishing one by one. Tunde took one last breath, his face calm, almost peaceful. Then his body stilled. The house fell quiet. The storm outside faded into a soft drizzle. Ngozi looked at Amara one final time. "Live," she whispered, "and remember, forgiveness is the only path the living share with the dead." Her spirit dissolved into the air, a soft shimmer that faded with the dawn. Amara sat beside her husband's lifeless body, tears falling silently. She touched his cheek, whispering, "May you find peace where you gave none." She placed her mother's necklace on his chest, then stood, trembling but strong. The first light of morning broke through the window, spilling across the room. The nightmare had ended. Camera pans upward, showing the house bathed in morning light. The air is still, clean, and new. Narrator softly. "They say truth, once buried, always rises. But when it does, it burns away everything false, until only the heart remains." Music fades. Cut to black. Days passed into weeks. The house that had once echoed with laughter and then screams now stood still, quiet like a resting soul. Amara walked through the empty halls one last time, her fingers brushing gently against the walls. The same walls that had witnessed both her dreams and her nightmares. Tunde's portrait still hung in the living room. His eyes, once full of pride, now seemed to watch her with silent remorse. She stood before it for a long moment. "I forgive you," she whispered softly. "Not because you asked, but because I must move on." She picked up her small suitcase and the ancestral necklace that had protected her through every storm. The house was no longer a home. It was a memory she was ready to leave behind. Cut to the dusty village road, bathed in golden sunlight. Amara walks slowly, carrying a basket of white lilies. The wind carried the scent of rain and earth. Her steps led her back to the place where it all began, the old graveyard beneath the baobab tree. Ngozi's grave was covered in fresh grass, tiny white flowers blooming all around it. Amara knelt before the headstone, her eyes warm but sad. She placed the lilies down gently and removed her wedding ring, setting it beside them. "For you," she said softly, "for the love that never found peace, until now." She bowed her head, whispering a prayer. "May your soul rest in light, Ngozi." May your story remind us all that even in pain, there can be forgiveness. A soft breeze stirred, brushing through her hair, gentle, almost like a caress. For a moment, she could swear she heard a voice whisper her name. Calm, grateful, free. Amara smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. Go well, sister, she murmured. Your pain ends here. Cut to Mama Zola's compound. The familiar smell of soup and firewood fills the air. Children laugh in the distance. Mama Zola looked up as Amara entered. Her face broke into a smile, though her eyes quickly searched her daughters for answers. Amara embraced her tightly. It's over, Mama. I came home. Mama Zola sighed deeply, holding her close. I told you, my child, every curse can be broken, but only by a pure heart. Amara smiled through her tears. And sometimes, it takes losing everything to find yourself. They sat together under the shade of the mango tree, the necklace glinting softly in the sunlight, a silent reminder of all they had survived. Narrator's voice fades in as the camera pans across the quiet village, the sky glowing with the colors of dawn. They say some gifts are not meant to be opened because truth itself can be venomous. But when faced with it, a pure heart finds light in even the darkest places. The wind rustles through the trees. A single snake glides across the path in front of Amara. Small, harmless, golden in the sunlight. She stops, watching it for a moment. Instead of fear, a soft smile crosses her lips. May we all heal, she whispers, from what we cannot forget. Music swells, a mix of drums and soft strings. The camera pans upward to the rising sun. Fade to black.